Are you ready to be in top form? You're about to enjoy and be transformed by some killer life and business hacks that we've designed to improve everything from your marketing and management to your fitness, health, lifestyle, and even your travel. You're going to be looking good. Come and get it. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Freeze.
So I'm Sikdar.
You're in top form. We are talking about the final topic in a 6-part sequence that we're doing on the client, patient, customer life cycle. Mm-hmm. If you happen to land here and haven't heard the others, go back and listen to the very first one, which takes you all the way through and explains why it's so important and valuable. Because each one of these, if you can focus your attention on them and understand them, which almost nobody ever does, you're going to have a totally different experience, and your client, patient, customer is too, and you're going to increase your revenues and your equity entity value. I mean, we talked about at the start of the show a guy that threw a rock into people's driveway that had his offer for landscaping services, and people were maligning it. But what caught my attention was one guy said, "Hey, at least he's doing something, and probably more than 90%. If you do any of this and you understand this, you're going to be light years ahead of your competition." So these are short. There's 6 of them. They're all short.
Short, very actionable. And remember that, I should give someone credit. I don't remember who, but that idea of done is better than perfect.
Yes.
Right? And it can be very overwhelming. You're going to listen to 7 episodes like, wow, how am I supposed to perfect my customer experience in their journey through my, business, organization, whatever you call it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just start paying attention to these things and making small optimizations along the way.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. It's a moving target.
Yeah.
As you optimize, you'll get more and better clients, customers, and patients. They'll have different needs. You'll optimize again. Mm-hmm. But typically what's happening is their experience is improving. You're retaining them for longer. Mm-hmm. They're buying more from you. They're taking more upsells. They're sending you more people. They're advocating for you. And so it's just this virtuous upward cycle. Right. But until you get a big overview of this, and then break it down into actionable steps like I hope that we have for everybody, you're not going to get those benefits. And you're not going to go do 7. Just focus on one at a time. Yeah. And you'll be able to optimize and then further optimize. So today, we're on how do we trigger a client, a customer, or patient to go from being a buyer to an advocate and to referring and to repurchasing.
That's right.
Either the same thing again or different things. So the way we've been doing this, and I hope effectively, is you and I have each been giving some examples from our own businesses and experiences of how we do each of these things. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is, in the last show, we talked about educating people to get them to consume. That is likely, if we've really created what we told them we were going to and delivered on it, it's likely to take them to a higher level of being an advocate or making a referral. But there's some other things that we could do along the way. Yeah. And let me just mention, too, we have a show on improving referral.
Right.
And that's up on YouTube now. And so go look for that.
Getting more referrals, even if you don't like to ask.
Getting more referrals, even if you don't like to ask. It was a great show. Yeah. So that's a more detailed, I think, hour-long, in-depth examination of this. We're just going to give you a couple of the tricks. So take us through, Sam, in your business, the first part of this, because we've got triggering advocacy and referral, and then later repurchase. So let's take advocacy and referral first.
So let's start with this idea of advocacy. Is a big part of, and I can't take credit for this either, of just martial arts in general, is this idea of ascension and the accumulation of status. Right? And that's, one thing that I've been really focusing on and recognizing finally, that it's not just about, you're losing weight and getting the belts, but what does that mean and confer to the person that's achieved that?
In terms of status or perceed status,
exactly.
Or how they feel and the way they relate to other people and how people look at them.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. It's how other people look at them is the first, but then how they look at themselves, right? So when people come in, this goes back to the last step, is getting them to use and progress through our system, right? As they do that, they feel that they're more part of this community. You might call it a cult, and that's part of the indoctrination if we go back even further. But once they become part of that, there's this idea of membership and exclusivity for us. So I'm a member of in this case, Dragon Gin. I'm part of something special. I'm part of something bigger than myself. And not everybody can be a part of this.
Right. They just couldn't do it if they wanted to.
They couldn't do it if they wanted to. So when people start to reach that level, they start to have that status. And when they have status, they want to tell people about the status. So the joke is, how do you know if somebody uses an iPhone? Wait 30 seconds and they'll tell you, right? How do you know if somebody's vegan? Wait 30 seconds and they'll tell you, right?
I think Alex has an Eagle Scout version of that.
Exactly, right? So whatever that is, but those are all things that confer status.
Yes.
So you'll start recognizing that, whether it's CrossFit or Dragon Gym or Apple users or being vegan or eating paleo, that there's a little bit of a sense of like, hey, I'm better than everybody else because this is what I do. Mm-hmm. So if you can sort of build up and edify your customers and clients that they understand, wow, this is really something great that I'm doing that not everybody else is doing, they will become that sort of advocate for you.
And we're making a distinction here, although they're related. There are people that are advocating for you generally and aren't making a specific referral.
Right.
But advocates are more likely to make a specific referral. So the more people you can move from being a buyer, consumer, participant to being an advocate, the better. And the more likely they are then, more of them to be making a referral. So in my business, and again, I think in yours, and you've made this explicit in earlier shows, there isn't ascension in the way that there is in yours.
Yeah.
But by creating steps along the way, as you indoctrinate people, as you gather information from them, as you deliver, and as you deliver more than they were expecting, constantly creating clarity about what they want, showing you understand them, and delivering, meeting, or exceeding their expectation, creates trust. It helps to create the purchase, but then doing things after that that exceed their expectations too. Telling them about a number of them. Like, so when somebody signs a document with us, we now show them and remind them they're going to get this big Bible that has everything in it cataloged. There's going to be a video they could go and watch that tells them and reminds them what to do with their beneficiary designation. There are all these things that go on. They get a newsletter from us 4 times a year with various kinds of offers and information and fun things in there. And it's part of that. You've formed this family, but you've exceeded their expectations again. Actually, we encourage people to do things that are more expensive, so long as they're appropriate for them. And they're getting something that nobody else even knows exists. I could protect my shore house from my son or daughter losing it in a divorce. Or in business black ops. I went into the desert, went to the Scottsdale Gun Club, learned from Marines and Special Forces operators how to shoot a Glock 19. People went out and told all kinds of people about that. And we had people say that they were afraid of guns, didn't like guns, whatever it was, and then went and had this very positive experience. Now, maybe they didn't become shooters. Maybe they didn't change their view on guns, although it sounded like many of them did. But they went and told people they had done this because they had this unique experience. Last year, we taught people how to pick locks. Not because we expect them to need to break into their own home or their neighbors, but because they now had this unique skill set. We've talked about preparedness and building go bags or get home bags. So now all of our members have a get home bag in their car or in their office with gloves and what if there's a natural disaster, a compass and a actual paper map about how to get it. They have all these things that other people haven't experienced. And they now know that they could get home if they needed to. This preparedness releases the worry part of the mind that knows secretly that you should be prepared for all those things to focus on other aspects of your life that go beyond mere survival. So these are unique experiences. We've told them about them. We've over-delivered on them. We continue to delight them. So they go from buyer to advocate. And if they get enough response acknowledging their status, and if they have enough certainty and trust in you, they'll go from advocate to making referral. And let's talk about that for a second. We talk about it in detail in the referral show. But there's a fear. Both making referral can elevate your status if somebody has a great experience, but it can diminish your status if they have a terrible experience. So quickly, how do you deal with that? How do you take away the fear of making referral?
So it's really helping them understand the best way to give a referral for you,
And who's a good match.
and who is the person that you're looking to get the referral for. So one, and again, in our earlier show, we talked about having a very specific way, a process or indoctrination sequence, whatever you want to call it, that people need to go through in order to do business with us, right? Then you get a referral, and that referee doesn't know about that process, and they want to shortcut it in some way for some reason. And I know you have things built in to sort of deal with that, but if they're not going through that process, they might not be the right person for you. So it's understanding, like, hey, in the gym example, right? I want you to refer someone. The typical thing people would do is just bring somebody to class, right? Now you have a total beginner in a class full of black belts.
Sure.
What am I supposed to do with that person?
Overwhelmed.
They're going to have
Right.
a bad experience. Everybody else in the class is going to have a bad experience. But hey, that person was advocating for us and brought a referral.
Right. That's your fault.
That was
you
a
didn't make it clear.
catastrophe.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So instead, letting them know, like, hey, we really love and appreciate referral. Anybody that you want to get started with us, talk to in the current times, it's Pablo, and he will do a free private lesson for them.
For them, because it's you.
Because it's you.
And now you've eliminated the and I even tell people that. I say, well, if you just send somebody to me and they haven't gone through this, that might not be an optimal experience for them.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that it is. And if it's not a good match, by the way, we're going to, but you're increasing the likelihood that it's going to be a good match. But if it turns out not to be, we will give them all kinds of gifts. There's no way they leave here unhappy.
Right.
So you're diminishing the likelihood that that's going to happen, diminishing the likelihood that the thing they fear about making a referral is going to occur. So they're going to be more likely to go from advocate to referral. Yeah. We have another topic to just talk about before we finish, and it's one of the most important ones. Assuming that you've caught their attention and awareness, you will first, let's step back even further. You've got this whole life cycle in mind.
Right.
Just understanding that is so powerful. And then you understand that first I've got to get their attention and build awareness. Then I'm going to use education to build rapport and transition into trust. I should indoctrinate them. There's shows on each of these in this series.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm going to trigger and ask for not just a purchase, but at least one or more upsells. Yeah. And then every time they buy from me thereafter, which is what we're about to get to, we're going to use education to encourage consumption, because that's going to make retention more likely, because they're going to have a better experience. That's going to make advocates out of more of them, who more of them will engage in referral.
Yeah.
The other thing we want the existing buyer to do is to repurchase from us.
Right.
Buy the same thing, or we should be implicit in this is that we should have a skunk works going and be developing other products and services that we know that our best clients, customers, and patients want. So talk a little bit about how you do that, how you think about that, and we'll address both. Repurchase of the same thing, repurchase of new thing.
Yeah, there's something you told me a long time ago, and as the years go by, I finally am getting more clarity on what that means. And there's this idea is like, look, Sam, how are you going to make more money? You need to get more customers, you need to charge them more, or somehow get them to buy more often. And this is kind of what that is. But there's this idea that for us, where it's a membership-based business, the repurchase is in a way tied to retention. Mm-hmm. So technically every month or every year, they're repurchasing from us. So that's sort of baked in. So let's go over that, like skip over that, right? But the next sort of repurchase is what I think of as the like upgrade or evolution of them, right? So a year has gone by, little Johnny's doing great in class, he's gotten to like a green or a purple or a blue belt.
You've built the nexus in their mind that you're somehow helping with that.
Exactly. And then we say, hey, I think little Johnny is going to be a very good fit for our junior instructor program or a leadership program.
Which, by the way, we should be clear, you're not saying if he's not.
Correct.
But if he is.
Yeah. It's not just like, hey, please come join this. It's selecting the people that are going to be a good fit for this, which is not every student. It's probably about 20% of the students.
That's what the 80-20 rule tells us, miraculously.
Exactly. And then, he goes through a process where he has to write some mini essays and apply for the program, and then he gets invited to do this junior instructor program, which also comes with some additional fees.
And is more likely to create retention.
Yeah.
Because his status as a kid in being an instructor and the status of the parents linked to that will stop, at least as it's been built from this, if that stops too.
Exactly.
So now let's just stop for a second, because people may say, again, that's kind of a jaundiced view of things, but it's a real view of how humans behave, and we should, as a way of giving the optimal experience, be aware of that.
That's right. That's right. Another way of looking at it is in our adult programs. Hey, you've been doing Taekwondo with me for 20 years.
In my case, longer.
Yeah, but like we will have this conversation a lot earlier, probably within 6 months to a year, whatever program they're in. Hey, you've been having a lot of great success with this. You've sort of, you've reached a first level of plateau. I noticed that you're looking for additional things. Maybe we'll push you into jiu-jitsu or kettlebells or yoga, and those become upsells as well.
Mm-hmm. So there, you're selling something that's related in terms of fitness, but it is not the same thing. So you're selling them something else. So let me give a couple of examples. For me, an analogous example in Business Black Ops, which is membership. You're really selling them more of the same. They're getting a newsletter. They're getting a coaching call. They are getting a video that instructs them on things. There are all these things that they get. They're coming to a live event. But at that live event, we always sell them other things, but other things that they presumably want. In that case, there's an interesting experiment for those of you watching who have membership or subscription. Stu McLaren was teaching a course that I went to recently for that business. And he was saying he used to have open enrollment to his membership, and he'd had 1,500 new members. And then he went to sort of a closed enrollment, only open for a limited period of time, twice a year, and it dramatically increased. So, we have this warlord status, but you can only do a limited number of them. So there's a closed enrollment that only opens for a brief window of time there, where we're selling them something else. For clients in the law practice, they come in and they want basic estate planning, but then do they want to go buy insurance, and should that be an irrevocable trust? Do they want to protect their kids from divorce? Lots of them do. There are all of these other things, and this relates back to purchase. When they purchase, we offer them the upsell, but what if they don't take it? Well, we don't assume that it's never appropriate for them, so we reapproach them.
It's understanding what the triggers are, whether it's time or event based, that will provide opportunities for your existing customers to repurchase.
So implicit in all of this is the idea that you should be constantly paying attention to your very best clients, customers, and patients, and listening to what else is worrying them and bothering them, what they desire, their aspirations, their hopes and fears.
There may be a product or service that you have yet to create that they're already looking for.
Exactly. Listen, we had a great time in this series.
Absolutely.
If you haven't gone and listened and watched the others, you can see them on YouTube, listen to them in iTunes, in the podcast. We appreciate everybody that's on with us, hanging in for like 2 hours.
Yeah, 2.5.
And also for producer Leslie hanging in there for all that time. This was a great series.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate everybody. Also, if you have questions about Business Black Ops, remember to call Lisa at 610-933-8069. I'm Dave Fries.
Sam Sikdar.
Signing off.